World leaders and thousands of mourners are preparing to say bid the final goodbye to Pope Francis, who passed away on Monday at 88 years of age, just hours after delivering his final Easter address. Now, the Pope's funeral will be held this Sunday at the St. Peter's Square, with 250,000 people expected in attendance. Notably, Pope Francis will be buried outside the Vatican at the Basilica of St. Mary Major, honoring his wish for a simple, humble burial. President Donald Trump, Ukraine's Zelensky, Britain's Prince William, and others will also be attending it. The Pope's body lies in his state until Friday, and in another departure from tradition, there will be no private viewing for cardinals. Now, after the service, a 9-day mourning period will begin, followed by the process to elect the next Pope. Ukrainian President Zelensky has said that Ukraine is ready to talk with Russia once a ceasefire is in place. The Financial Times is reporting that President Putin has in fact offered to freeze the war at current front lines and drop claims to full control of 4 Ukrainian regions. Meanwhile, U.S. State Envoy Steve Witkoff is heading to Moscow this week for another round of talks, while parallel meetings continue in London. Now, Trump's administration is reportedly considering a proposal to recognize Russia's hold on Crimea as part of a possible deal. Donald Trump has said that he has no intention of firing Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell, walking back threats that he had in fact rattled markets in recent days. Despite the shift in tone, Trump kept up pressure on the Fed to cut interest rates, saying and rather underlining Powell should act clearly and not late. Wall Street cheered meanwhile. The de-escalation futures jumped nearly 2%. Trump also hinted at major tariff reductions in a trade deal with China is reached. But uncertainty still remains. The Fed has held rates steady since Trump's return, and inflation, in fact, risks tied to tariffs have made policymakers cautious. Meanwhile, the IMF has slashed its global growth forecast, citing Trump's trade policy as a top concern. The International Monetary Fund, or the IMF, has cut its global growth forecast, blaming heightened trade tensions led by steep U.S. tariffs under President Donald Trump. Global growth is now projected at 2.8% this year. The IMF warns of a potential recession in the U.S. and also says growth in top trading partners like China and Mexico will also slow down. Meanwhile, for India, the outlook remains relatively steady at 6.2% for 2025. Though that's a slight dip from the earlier projections, this is due to global uncertainty and trade risks. U.S. President Donald Trump says tariffs on Chinese goods will be lowered substantially, but won't go to zero as trade talks resume with Beijing. Current tariffs, for perspective, on Chinese imports are as high as 145%. Now, Trump says he's optimistic about a deal, but has also warned that if China doesn't agree or play ball, the U.S. will dictate the terms. Now, this softer tone comes amid recession warnings and market turmoil, with Trump defending his strategy as a success despite pushback from global financial institutions. Elon Musk has said that he will significantly scale back his time working with the Trump administration, this as Tesla's financial health takes a serious hit. The company posted a 70% plunge in profits and a 20% drop in auto revenue in the first quarter of 2025. Now, Musk, who heads the government cost-cutting initiative DOGE and donated heavily also to Trump's re-election campaign, blamed political backlash for hurting demand. He now plans to in fact reduce his involvement in government matters to just a couple of days a week. Tesla also warned meanwhile that trade tensions, especially U.S. tariffs on China, are disrupting supply chains. Meanwhile, protests and boycotts over Musk's political role continue globally. Investors remain skeptical, with Tesla stock down 37% this year. A federal judge has ordered the Trump administration to resume operations of Voice of America and other U.S.-funded broadcasters after they were shut down unceremoniously last month. Over 1,000 employees and 600 contractors had in fact been impacted. The judge ruled that the move in fact violated congressional mandates to maintain press freedom and export American values.